Hi, I'm Tom Getz. I'm one of the directors of research over at Phoenix Cyber. Phoenix Cyber is a solutions company. We've been doing SOAR for a little over a decade now, leveraging swim lane across many orchestration platforms. Probably a little over 100 customers, one of the early implementators for swim lane. Been doing a lot in the orchestration space. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the SOAR journey, the general concept of a day in the life of orchestration. And if anybody's been here, they know what this journey looks like. We start in this typical land where we have some kind of a manual process that we want to orchestrate and bring together. That process isn't working for us, much like a non-functional swing in our picture. And then we step away from that to this utopia. You know, we have these people, everybody from managers, the CISOs, to the leaders in sales, that are all talking about what the utopian of automation is going to look like. This easy chair of life, how everything's going to sit and be for us. We eventually try to start orchestrating, right? When we start doing this process, our initial orchestration just doesn't work like we intended to be. This could be simple, right? It's simple, the process of what we scoped and how we scoped it and how we try to orchestrate from an SOP to a process that doesn't work for us. And then a lot of times when we finally get it right, we get to the promised land of where we want to be, our users aren't there. We've changed the process. We've adjusted the system in a way that we don't know, that the users don't know how to use the system we've created, and we're trying to help them figure that out and bring them back to this promised land. And then finally, we get to that final stage where we're trying to react and help with alert adaptation, zero-day responses, and now our orchestration system is just a Band-Aid. It's a batch system that's a little vicarious, but it might still work. So let's go ahead and talk about that first step a little bit more. And what does it look like? We kind of refer to it as the Bobs, right? We've all seen the movie. We're talking about what is it exactly that you do. We're taking orchestration and we're trying to drive it down to its elements and what are the key aspects that are actually doing. And the story's always the same when we start here, right? It is, we always do it this way, except. And it's those excepts are always the case, right? So the idea of what is a stereotypical actual SOP to the exception rules of what actually comes into place as we interview the analysts and everybody that's doing the things. And then we get the idea or prospect on top of this of what are we going to do from a value proposition. Well, the whole reason we embrace SOAR, right, is so we could do all these cool things that we couldn't do. Those conversations that happen like, if only we could do this in this process. And when we start to automate, we add all of those in. So this simple process that we started with, this idea that SOAR is going to be simple. We have the simple SOP that we're going to follow as phishing or whatever it may be. We're going to dive down that process, and as soon as we get there, we find out that we have the ifs and buts, we have the additional features and values that we want to have, and that complicate the process. We haven't even touched the tools yet. Then we start looking at the tools we need to orchestrate with this and the maturity and aspect of those tools. How are those tools actually working for us and accomplishing what we want? They complex our process, and while what we started with as this simple idea of what we're going to orchestrate is actually way more monolithic. We accept this and we determine that we're going to build our utopia. Our DevOps team is awesome. They're going to get to it. They're going to get on top of it. They're going to develop this process. And they're going to make this thing work. They're going to add in all the features you need. They're going to understand what it is the additional criteria is. They're going to hone all your actions and build everything is, and they're going to enhance that user experience. While they're doing this, though, that journey gets elongated way more than what we thought it was going to be. Mainly because we added so much stuff along the side in order to gain the value that we wanted out of this situation. Throughout that process, that DevOps guy gets to the final promise, and that's that story that we talked about before. That lonely space. Nobody's there to use it because we had to now figure out how to train everybody to use our product. It's a great product, but they don't know how to use it because it's different than what it was before, but it's different because it's better, but it still doesn't mean that they know what they're doing here. How am I getting the training to bring everybody in? How am I using that process? What we determined when we're done is we made something cool. We started with the idea we're going to orchestrate this simple little swing. We're going to get a simple process in the whole thing. And what we have in the end It's cool, it's amazing, it's an awesome roller coaster, but it's certainly way more complex than that swing we started with. The idea of where we were going to be and where we are isn't the same land. And that's the challenge that we have, and we get ready to take that SOC team on the ride with us. When we do that, we have to start embracing the other aspects of this, which is all the things that the SOC is going to ask back. And we have to figure out how we're going to do this inside of our really cool, awesome roller coaster we built. The concept of how this complexity of orchestration, what we're going to do with that. We'll right back into how we're going to deal with all the legacy methodologies that we used to do. We used to do it this way. How can I train that back out of my analysts? How am I getting them to understand the output and value proposition of what we have and read and understand that in this orchestration model that's significantly more complicated than the original SOP that we started with? When we look at that, we have found out at Phoenix that the best way to do this is we started our journey, right? We started at the beginning of our journey saying we're going to take a process and we're going to orchestrate it because we're going to gain value out of it. What we at Phoenix has realized is the second half has to be done. When we get to the back side of orchestration, we need to orchestrate the automation. We need to look at the backside and the data we're getting out of that. We started with that with a product that Swimlane has baked into their platform as a product called Swimlane Health and Maintenance and Operations. They put this in here to allow you to see the components and elements of Swimlane and understand what they have going in there. But we advance that product. We look at that we can build more tools and more aspects into this and help people with all the processes that they need, because we have that analyst out there. He's using the tool now. He's running through that. How am I getting the data from the analyst to my DevOps team in a way that the DevOps team can understand and react and improve on that process? Baking into the Swimlane platform a product that allows the analyst to collect the information, much similar to how the analyst is collecting information from the end user in a risk situation. In the orchestration space, they're doing it the same way inside the platform. In addition to that, we're taking all of the tools that are used, the applications, the workspaces, the tasks and integration engines, and we're building in a centralized dashboard that's going to help people see and orchestrate what's going on in that. The key here, though, is if I just take the elements of Swimlane and break it down by the aspect of my assets, my workspaces, and all the things I'm going to have in here, it's not going to do good enough for me, right? I need to drive this thing down to something that's usable, viable by the end user. And a lot of that in the SOC situation is all use cases, right? How can I tie all my coverage and all my use cases back into a centralized aspect that is relevant to me and it can react to? And driving all my use cases into all my integrations and everything into use cases helps feed and power that. In addition to that, helping the DevOps team look at these aspects and build something out of that that has value to them. So when we look at how the DevOps is interacting with our orchestration team, a lot of times of what they're doing there is they're not able to see where we're drawing and where the value proposition's at. So what we're going to do is start orchestrating the different elements by the button presses and how that orchestration runs out this orchestration system. Let's go on to the next slide. One big value that we've seen inside of orchestration space is the idea of CI/CD. CI/CD has been a power point for a lot of people, and when we look at orchestration, we know to bind things into GitHub. But when we bind them into GitHub, GitHub isn't made for orchestration a lot of times. The platform doesn't look like that. So we want to embrace orchestration on the GitHub side of the house. What we've done is integrated, built into Swimlane and baked into the product, and the idea of how we can orchestrate and enhance your GitHub solutions so we can tie those into the relevant applications and modifications within Swimlane. Your applications, your workflows, your tasks. Tie that into the relevant use cases that you've put out there and allow detailed and pinpointed rollbacks based against reactions and needs against environment. So if DevOps teams is rolling in a new use case and it affects that use case, we can very pinpoint, we roll back and resolve and then feed back to my DevOps team a corrective action model that allows them to respond and react to that. That means that my orchestration team, my DevOps team are all working together. And since my DevOps team is embracing orchestration, they are now a consumer of the product that they're pushing out there, allowing them to understand and be in the heart of the analyst and feed better to them. Go ahead. When we do that, We can now also allow that orchestration team to collect data logging, feed into your SIM technology. We're used to orchestration in the SOCs, allowing us to read from SIM tools, to collect alerts. But why isn't the orchestration tool used as a data source for our SIM tool? There's so much data in here, not only from a DevOps modeling, but from an enrichment process of alert management that can be fed back into the SIM automatically from swim lane and into your processes to help with continuous improvement, analytical data that actually makes sense and allows alert enrichment to be better on the back end and DevOps teams to respond better to bugs and errors in play. All of this ties back into the initial kind of story we started with. The idea that you have your orchestration. It's complex and it's chaotic. But one of the things that we can do is we can make that backside not chaotic. And how we do that is we're embracing the orchestration on the backside of your orchestration, allowing us to tie automatically in and create dashboards relevant to your CISOs, relevant to your SOC managers, to your DevOps team that actually have a value proposition and can be reacted to make corrective actions, immediate responses, tying that into your CI/CD pipeline to allow streamlining of your orchestration and continuous development of your orchestration process, so that you don't have to accept orchestrated chaos. You can embrace orchestration in your chaos, making it less chaotic. Go ahead. I thank you for your time with you at Phoenix today. Thank you.